Something old, something new. This tax season, scammers are using every trick in the book to steal from you. From using AI technology to pull the wool over your eyes, to going old school with paper check fraud, even though we're in the age of digital banking. Now, you can be a victim, even if you've never written a check in your life. David Perez is the CEO of Maverick, and he joins me now to share what you need to know this tax season. So much of our banking is done digitally now. Why do you think paper check fraud is having a resurgence, and how are people being targeted?
Well, I think that, well, first off, thanks for having me, Ike. And I think a lot of people today are experiencing more opportunities to be fraud victims just because of the fact that they don't know what's real and what's not real anymore. And so a lot of maybe we'll call it elderly people who continuously still write checks to the federal government or to pay bills are being duped into mailing checks or are still mailing checks to other institutions, maybe to pay bills or for liabilities of any sort. And those checks get copied or duplicated because fraudsters are looking to catch them in the mail.
Now, David, scammers are also going high tech. What do we need to know about tricks using AI?
Well, the crazy thing is today with AI, you could pretty much clone anything. And a lot of scammers are utilizing voice clones to sound like and simulate an IRS call. And so we have heard instances where taxpayers will receive a call from a supposed IRS agent. They even sound very real. They'll present a badge number as they normally would. They then ask or remind the client of a prior bill or a prior notice that they may have received, which is very common. Most of us will receive a notice from the IRS at some point. So if you're not very attentive to details, you wouldn't go look for the exact notice or the exact amounts. And then from time to time, they'll cite years or prior things that maybe just sound right. You filed married, correct? Right? That would be a very common statement. And then they would use this voice clone and they would get this taxpayer to give away information that may be very valuable to getting or causing harm to them.
You know, David, people are always wondering how they shouldn't mess up during this time. You know, it can come back to bite them you know where. So what are some red flags people should watch out for to ensure they don't become a victim of fraud this tax season and pretty much all year round?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I see today in the tax industry generally is the lack of understanding that information is so valuable just by taxpayers generally. There's so many websites that proclaim to file taxes. There's people who are now doing taxes from maybe their kitchen table or helping their friends and their family, and a lot of that becomes data breaches, right? I used to tell people, if you prepared your taxes with a friend or a family member at some point, that means that your information resides either on their computer or in their email box or somewhere that maybe is not very secure. And this is why going to a professional is so important. It's not necessarily just for the expertise, but it's also to make sure that your information is safe and secure. Because if it's not safe and secure, then you could leave yourself to exposure. And one of the biggest challenges I see today is now it's not just taxpayers, it's their dependents who are now being impacted by maybe some poor judgments in the past, maybe just going with the wrong person. And so now we're seeing dependents who are going to college and they're starting to say, hey, I'm applying for a credit card. And I realize now I'm a victim of identity theft.
All right, David Perez, thank you very much.